When something bad happens and then something else happens that seems to make it worse, you might hear someone say the phrase, out of the frying pan and into the fire. I would love to tell you a story of a great prophet who seemed to go from the frying pan and into the fire time and time again. But God made sure he and his friends were protected because they trusted in and loved him. When Daniel and his friends were little boys, an invading army came and took them from their homes. They were to be taught to become advisors to the king. All the boys were given foods that weren't the best for them, and Daniel and his friends asked to be allowed to eat good, wholesome foods instead. It was very brave of them to stand up to the king. Would you be brave enough to do that? The leader of the school was worried that Daniel and his friends would not be strong and that they would get him into trouble. God helped them to be healthy and even stronger than the other boys because they ate better food. The king was impressed by these wise boys. Later, the king had a dream, and no one could interpret the dream for him. With no answers, the king became angry and was going to kill all his advisors. Daniel and his friends prayed very hard, and God gave Daniel the dream and the interpretation of the dream. Daniel and his friends were spared. Remember the saying, out of the frying pan and into the fire? Well, when the king asked people to worship an idol, Daniel's friends would not do it, and they were thrown into a fire. Because of their faith, the fire didn't burn them, and the king was again impressed. Taken from his home at a young age, Daniel stayed true to what he had learned about God and obeyed the Lord's commands. Because he followed God's commandments, Daniel was always blessed. Do you think it was easy for Daniel to obey God? It wasn't at all, but even though it was really hard, Daniel continued to do what God wanted him to do. The king grew old, and his son became the new king. He was very wicked and was destroyed. So King Darius was made king. He watched Daniel and knew he was honest and faithful. When the king's advisors saw how much King Darius trusted and listened to Daniel, they were jealous. They hatched an evil plan to get Daniel into trouble, and they convinced the king to sign a decree that everyone should pray to the king instead of God. If anyone prayed to God, they would be thrown into a den with hungry lions. What would you do? Would you pray to God even though you could be fed to the lions? The king thought that having everyone pray to him was a great idea, and he signed this new law. Daniel knew he was only going to pray to God no matter what the consequences might be. When he was caught praying, the advisors had him brought before the king. King Darius liked Daniel and worked all day to undo the law, but it was too late. The other leaders threw Daniel into the den with the lions. But King Darius told Daniel that he knew God would protect him. Daniel prayed, and the king also prayed and fasted all night. Early the next morning, the king ran to the den to see if Daniel was alive. He called down and asked Daniel if he had been spared, and he was. Daniel told the king that God had sent angels to shut the mouths of the lions so that they did not hurt him at all. It was a miracle. God had protected Daniel because Daniel chose to follow him in all things. Sometimes when we follow God's commands, it may seem like others are mean to us or that we have gone out of the frying pan and into the fire. Just like Daniel and his friends, we can overcome troubles big or small when we trust in God and follow him.
Find out why over 1 million parents have used goodandbeautifulbooklist.com to find clean, appropriate books. Check out the free book list now and dive into the world of good and beautiful literature.